You believe power is built on charisma, influence, or brute strength. No, those are mere illusions. The truly dangerous possess a trait far more lethal, one that cloaks itself in silence, masks its intent with patience, and destroys not through action, but through omission. In this video was the lie. I will expose the most feared quality of the truly powerful, the one trait that makes them untouchable. And you, predictable. In the courts of kings and the minds of conquerors, power does not announce itself. It whispers. The most formidable rulers are not those who shout commands or wage wars, but those who observe and wait. Like the venomous serpent who does not strike until its prey is blind to danger, the truly powerful conceal their deadliest trait beneath a mask of detachment. This trait, ignored by the masses, feared by the perceptive, is the philosopher's weapon, the strategist's shield, and the manipulator's sword. It is what separates rulers from ruled, predators from prey. Tonight, I will dissect this trait not as a moralist, but as a tactician. You will not leave this video comforted, but you will leave it armed. You think power is loud. You think it roars, commands, dominates through presence. But let me ask you something. When was the last time a truly powerful figure needed to raise their voice? Real power does not plead. It does not chase. It does not even explain. It simply is. And the most dangerous manifestation of that power is called indifference. Let us be precise. Indifference is not apathy. It is not a lack of intelligence or emotion. It is the calculated refusal to invest emotionally where most people are slaves to their feelings. This is why it frightens people. When you are indifferent, they can't predict you. They can't control you. They can't guilt you, flatter you, or use your need for validation against you. Imagine a court of trembling nobles. All seek favor from the prince. Each one trying to read his face, gain a reaction, interpret the smallest gesture, but he offers none. No smile, no frown, only silenced, measured, deliberate. In that silence, they project their fears, their ambitions, their desperation. He, meanwhile, watches. That is power. Consider Julius Caesar before crossing the Rubicon. The Senate begged for clarity. He gave them uncertainty. He showed restraint and then struck when they were lulled into comfort. You see, indifference is not the absence of feeling. It is the presence of restraint. In modern terms, it is the psychological edge that terrifies manipulators. They bait you, provoke you, expecting you to respond, to react emotionally, to need their approval. But when you do not, when you remain untouched, they panic. Because you are no longer their puppet. You become their mirror, their reflection, and they do not like what they see. The indifferent man does not compete. He observes the competition destroy itself. Do you remember that colleague who never joined the office drama, but somehow ended up getting the promotion? He wasn't distracted. He wasn't begging for attention. He was indifferent to the emotional chaos around him. And that made him powerful. The mind trained in cold detachment makes decisions others would never dare. It can cut ties without flinching. It can walk away from comfort without nostalgia. And it can endure insult without retaliation. Because it doesn't need to be seen. It knows its worth. Now let me ask you, why do most people fail to acquire power? Because they are too eager to be liked. They crumble when they are ignored. They need feedback, applause, validation. Every minute. They mistake visibility for dominance. But the powerful understand this. When you act like you don't need anything, everything is offered to you. Not out of generosity, but out of fear. Psychologically, indifference disarms. It triggers anxiety in the insecure. They begin to chase your approval, hoping to earn something you never promised. This flips the power dynamic. You become the prize. They become the pusher. Every manipulator, every narcissist, every emotional extortionist. relies on your emotional engagement. Without it, they wither. Take a lesson from Queen Elizabeth I. She delayed marriages, played suitors against one another, never allowed herself to be seen as desperate for alliance or love. She ruled alone, and she ruled absolutely. What made her so feared? Her silence, her unpredictability, her indifference. Because in a world obsessed with attention, the one who withholds it becomes godlike. Now pause. Ask yourself, how much of your energy is wasted reacting to people who do not deserve it? How often do you give away your power, simply because you care too much? What if tomorrow you stopped explaining, stopped justifying, stopped needing anyone to understand you? What would that feel like? Lonely, perhaps, but also invincible, because cold indifference is not isolation, it is insulation from the noise, the manipulation, the emotional blackmail. The powerful do not play on the board, they design it. So if you wish to rise, not by chance, but by strategy, begin by mastering the art of non-response. Let others burn themselves out trying to read you. Let them drown in their own assumptions. You will sit in silence and wait, because the coldest mind wins. And this is only the beginning. In the next segment, we'll expose the next weapon in the arsenal of the truly powerful, the art of hidden intent. Don't look away. Let me offer you a bitter truth. The more people know of your intentions, the easier it is to destroy you. You see, the powerful do not win by force alone. They win by withholding. They speak, but say nothing. They move, but reveal nothing. Their true desires remain locked behind 1,000 decoys. Now ask yourself, how often have you made your plans visible, only to watch others sabotage them, mock them, or copy them? That is not failure. That is predictability, and predictability is fatal. In this world, transparency is a luxury for the powerless. The powerful traffic in opacity. They weaponize mystery. They understand that what is seen can be countered, but what is hidden? It causes paranoia. It makes people doubt their own thoughts. The most dangerous trait of the truly powerful is not what they say, but what they refuse to say. Let me take you back to ancient China. The strategist Sun Tzu wrote, "All warfare is based on deception. A general who broadcasts his strategy invites defeat, but one who misleads, who lets the enemy believe he is weak when he is strong, strikes with impunity." It is no different in personal power. To conceal your intent is to control the narrative, and the one who controls the narrative, it controls perception, and the one who controls perception rules without lifting a finger. Think of politics. The true ruler is never the face on the poster. He is the hand behind the curtain, the architect of illusion, the ghost in the room. He never says, "This is what I want." He lets others say it, unknowingly, on his behalf. And when things collapse, he was never there to begin with. Now tell me, how do most people behave? They overshare. They declare their dreams, their emotions, their next 10 moves to anyone who listens. And then they wonder why they're blocked at every turn. The answer is simple. They armed their enemies in advance. But the cold strategist understands this. Ambition declared is ambition exposed. Ambition exposed is ambition attacked. So they remain silent. And when they do speak, they mislead, not through lies, but through strategic fog. They speak in riddles. They offer multiple meanings. They keep even their allies unsure. Because in doubt, people hesitate. And hesitation gives you time. Let me give you a modern example. The most feared CEOs don't yell in meetings. They sit quietly. They listen. They ask a single, strange question, and the room spirals into speculation. Is he angry? Is he testing me? Is he planning to cut the budget? Is this a trap? No answer, only silence. That silence is control. The art of hidden intent is not about lying. It is about layering your truth. Give people something to interpret, but never the full picture. Let them fill in the blanks. Let them argue among themselves. Let them chase shadows while you pursue clarity. This tactic is not new. The Medici, the Borgias, the crowned heads of Europe, all used misdirection as policy. They never said what they truly meant, because the moment you say it, it can be taken from you. Let me ask you, what do people know about your next move? Your real ambition, your pressure points. If the answer is too much, then you are playing with your cards face up, and the game is already lost. Power is not granted to the visible. It is seized by the invisible. The most powerful move any negotiation, any war, any relationship, is to leave the other person unsure of your true motive. To be misunderstood is to be protected, because while they are guessing, you are executing. And when they finally understand what you are doing, it's already done. So begin now. Withdraw your confessions. Pull back your explanations. Smile, but say nothing. Nod, but commit to no opinion. And above all, never, ever tell them what you're really after. Because those who move in shadows always strike in light. And now that you understand the power of concealed intent, prepare for the next layering. How patience becomes a predator's greatest weapon. You've seen what happens when you're unreadable. Now see what happens when you're unhurried. Impatience is the enemy of power. You want to rise, to dominate, to win. And so you rush. You speak too soon. Act too quickly. Expose your strategy before it's ripened. And in doing so, you forfeit the one weapon that truly terrifies your opponent: time. Let me ask you, who do you fear more? The man who shouts threats and demands attention, or the one who says nothing, who waits and watches without flinching? You fear the latter, because silence makes the mind race, stillness provokes anxiety, and patience, real, weaponized patience, is not passivity, it is preparation. Consider the great predator. The lion does not roar before the kill. The serpent does not hiss before it strikes. They wait, still, calm, patient, and when the moment is right, they don't hesitate. So why should you behave any differently? Most people destroy themselves through their own urgency. They force progress. They demand recognition. They panic when results don't arrive instantly. But the truly powerful, they delay gratification. They invest in leverage, not speed. And in their silence they gather power like a storm gathering in the distance. History rewards the patient. Julius Caesar waited years before crossing the Rubicon. Every political pressure told him to act. But he watched. He maneuvered. He let his enemies underestimate him. And then, when the time was perfect, he moved. Not in haste, not in doubt, but with absolute, irreversible momentum. You see, when you act after waiting, it is never a reaction. It is a calculated execution. Now look around you. How many people sabotage their future because they need things to happen now? They show their cards too early in a negotiation. They speak just to fill silence. They burn bridges just to feel something. They do not endure tension. They try to escape it. But tension is where power is built. Because patience is not passive. It is pressure applied in reverse. While your opponent grows nervous, you remain unshaken. While others rush, you observe. And when you finally act, it is so precise, so unexpected, that resistance becomes useless. Let me give you a modern example. A skilled negotiator does not argue. He listens. He nods. He allows the other party to speak endlessly, revealing their fears, weaknesses, and desires. The less he says, the more they reveal, and eventually they trap themselves in their own words. This is the value of patience. It lets others overextend, while you grow stronger by doing nothing. Psychologically, it breaks people, because most cannot endure uncertainty. They need answers. They crave closure. And if you can learn to withhold both, while remaining calm and unreadable, You become a psychological weapon. Patience, then, becomes predatory. It lures, it deceives, it conquers. Not through volume, but through timing. Even in relationships, this principle holds. He who rushes to declare love, to beg, to demand attention, becomes the weaker half. But he who withholds, who chooses moments with care, who says less and observes more, he draws the other in like a shadow draws light. It's not cruelty. It's control, because timing is what turns silence into suspense, and suspense into submission. Now let me ask you, what are you rushing right now? Who are you trying to impress? Urgently. What outcome are you trying to force? And in doing so, what leverage are you sacrificing? If you acted tomorrow instead of today, would you have more power? If you waited a week, a month, a year, would your enemies reveal more? Would your allies shift? Would your leverage grow? You know the answer. The strongest blow is the one they don't see coming. But you cannot deliver it if you act before it's ready. The man who masters timing masters fate. Because patience isn't weakness. It is restraint sharpened into a sword. And while the world moves in chalk, you remain still, unrushed, unbeatable. But don't get comfortable, if that was the lie. For the next trait of the truly powerful will demand something even colder than patience, the absence of empathy. You've learned to wait, now learn to sever. Let us speak plainly. Empathy is a virtue only when it is safe to feel. But where power is concerned, empathy is a liability. It softens decisions. It delays action. It clouds judgment. And worst of all, it makes you predictable. Now ask yourself, when you're in pain, do you hesitate to spare others? When you're betrayed, do you still hope they'll change? And when you must choose between power and compassion, do you flinch? If so, understand this: you will always serve the one who does not. The truly powerful do not feel as you do. They have trained themselves not to. They sever the emotional ties that most people cling to like chains. They choose clarity over comfort. Because those who feel too much hesitate. And in the game of power, hesitation is fatal. History remembers the bold, but what it forgets is that boldness requires emotional detachment. Let me give you a lesson from Florence. Cesare Borgia, a man both feared and admired, once faced rebellion from his own lieutenants. He smiled, promised forgiveness, dined with them, and after the meal he had them strangled. No hesitation, no remorse. Why? Because to maintain power, you must cut weakness from its root. Had he hesitated, had he pitied, he would have been devoured. You might find this cold. You might find it cruel. But you cannot call it ineffective. Empathy, when uncontrolled, becomes a tool for your enemies. They manipulate it. They play victim, was the lie. They invoke guilt as a weapon. Because they know you'll bend. And when you bend one seam, they will expect you to bend again. But when you do not, when you show no trace of emotional surrender, they break. This is not about being heartless. It is about knowing when to use your heart. A ruler must know how to appear merciful, without being bound by mercy. Because the truth is simply, your enemies do not care how kind you are. They care whether you are vulnerable. Compassion invites negotiation. Indifference demands submission. Now look around you. In business, in politics, in relationships. The ones who rise are not always the most talented. They are the ones who can walk away without regret, cut ties without explanation, discard sentiment when it no longer serves strategy. This is the trait that terrifies the emotionally dependent. Because to them, every word must be felt. Every decision must mean something. But to the powerful, decisions are tools, not sentiments. When the general sends thousands to die, does he weep? No, he calculates. Because to hesitate, to grieve, to question, would cost him the war. You must understand this: the world does not reward your compassion. It rewards your control. The absence of empathy gives you freedom, freedom to act decisively, to detach from noise, to resist guilt, to move forward, while others drown in doubt. And it's not the powerful feel nothing. It's that they decide when and where to feel. And who deserves it? They protect their emotions like a fortress, opening the gates only when it serves them. Everyone else, they are expendable. Now let me ask Yog, that was the lie. How often you made the weaker choice because you didn't want to hurt someone? How many times have you tolerated betrayal, disrespect, or mediocrity because you understood them? And where has that left you? The powerful do not explain their cruelty. They don't need to. Because the results justify the method. This is not cruelty for its own sake. It is discipline, precision, a refusal to let feelings sabotage fate. Imagine being immune to guilt, unaffected by tears, unmoved by praise or insult. You become untouchable. People will hate you, fear you, but they will also follow you. Because deep down, they crave the stability that only emotional control can create, and that control begins where empathy ends. It is not the lack of humanity. It is the mastery of it, the ability to switch it off when the throne demands it. So learn to feel selectively. Learn to rule your heart as you would an unruly subject. Reward it with silence. Punish it with restraint. And if you must feel, feel privately. Because the moment your enemies know what breaks you, they will break you. But if they find nothing, no regret, no hesitation, no remorse, then they will know you are not to be persuaded. You are not to be pitied. You are not to be touched. And now that you understand this final trait, prepare for the truth that binds them all together. You may think consistency builds trust, but in power, predictability invites destruction. Let them know your routine, and they'll anticipate your next move. Let them read your face, and they'll control your decisions. Let them predict your behavior, and you've already lost. Because the man who is predictable but is the man who can be cornered. Let me ask you, when was the last time someone exploited your patterns? Knew exactly how you'd react to it because you always react the same way. That's not just poor strategy. That's a blueprint for manipulation. In the game of power, unpredictability is not recklessness. It is calculated disruption. It is the ability to break your pattern deliberately. So no one ever knows where they stand with you, and in that uncertainty they hesitate, and while they hesitate you move. History worships Caesar, but remember, his greatness wasn't just in conquest, it was in keeping others off balance. He pardoned enemies others thought he'd execute. Then later, without warning, he struck men who believed themselves safe. This unpredictability wasn't cruelty, it was strategy. It preserved power through fear, not of violence, but of uncertainty. Because the moment your opponents know what you'll dob, they will plan for it. They will trap you inside the very consistency you think earns loyalty. Now think of modern examples. A CEO who's predictable in negotiations is crushed by sharks who read his playbook. A political figure who never deviates from his script becomes a puppet, visible, exposed, and easily undone. Even in personal dynamics, the one who never changes becomes boring, dismissed, taken for granted. But the one who is unpredictable, they stay dangerous, not because they are irrational, but because they are unreadable. Unpredictability is not chaos. It is control through ambiguity. It's how you make others chase your motives, question your intentions, speak cautiously around you. They don't know if you'll reward them or punish them. And that's exactly where you want them. Uncertain, off balance, dependent. Now ask yourself, do people know your next move? Do they know how you react under pressure? Do they know how to calm you? How to provoke you? If they dob, you are owned. But if you become unreadable, you become untouchable. Your silence will echo louder than their arguments. Your deviation will reset their assumptions. And every move you make will carry weight, because it was unexpected. Even in diplomacy, unpredictability wins wars without battles. During the Cold War, the United States crafted the madman theory. Nixon wanted adversaries to believe he was erratic, willing to do anything, unstable, unpredictable, dangerous. The message, don't test him. Whether he was truly unstable didn't matter. What mattered was the fear of what he might do. That fear preserved peace more effectively than logic ever could. That is the essence of power. Now let's speak personally. To be unpredictable, you must first break your addiction to being understood. You must abandon the need to explain, to justify, to repeat yourself. People will demand clarity from you. Let them drown in ambiguity. They will expect patterns. Break them. They will want to predict your reaction. Give them silence when they expect anger, kindness when they expect retaliation, indifference when they expect need. And never explain why, because mystery is leverage. It makes people cautious. It forces them to approach you with care. And the moment someone approaches with caution, they are no longer your equal. They are already beneath you. This doesn't mean being random. It means being strategic in your unpredictability. Every break in pattern must serve a purpose. Not chaos for chaos' sake, but control that can't be mapped. Even your allies should be slightly unsure of your next move, because certainty breeds complacency, but unpredictability breeds respect. So stop being so easy to define. Erase the map they've drawn of you. Burn the rulebook they used to control you. And in its place become a shifting figure, impossible to pin down. Because those who cannot be predicted cannot be defeated. But now that you understand the weapon of unpredictability, let me show you the final blow of the power minding. Power is never granted. It is taken, not with noise but with silence. Not with force, but with invisible control. The most dangerous influence is the one no one sees. No commands, no threats, just quiet compliance. You shape their thoughts before they know they're being shaped. You lead them to your outcome, while they believe it was their choice. That is true mastery. Not domination, but influence without resistance. While others chase loyalty, you craft dependency. While they speak of honesty, you build illusions. Now ask yourself, would you rather be loved or obeyed? Understood or feared? If you understand what I've revealed, you already feel the shift. This is not for the many. It is for the few who refuse to be ruled. So now, act. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Let the sharpest mind speak. Subscribe for more strategy. And share this with one whose still kindness alone conquers. Because by the time they realize the truth, you'll already be in control.